So 1 year ago, we were kind of doing earnings the old-fashioned way, right? We had the Polycom, we had the script. I would read the script. We would take the questions over Polycom. Sell-side analysts would be on the call exclusively. And then, I was looking at the recordings, and we have even back then, we had a community of retail fans that would listen to our earnings and stream on YouTube. I always looked at that, right? And it was Amit. Amit was one of the first, but there were a bunch of others as well. And I was just like sitting there looking at it. And I said to myself, man, I'm bored. And if I'm bored, the people watching this must be really bored. And at one point, the live streamer, I forget who it was, he kind of apologized to the audience. He's like, I know it's a little bit dry. Sorry, guys, but maybe we'll get to Q&A soon. And they would get to the Q&A, which would be the engaging part, because we would be unscripted, even though the Q&A was also quite scripted. So I was like, all right, let's tear this down from first principles and make it fun. What's an example, what's an analogy, something we could learn from and lift from maybe another industry that is similar to this, but entertaining? And I thought, well, it's kind of similar to a NBA playoffs post-game interview, There's some differences, but some similarities. Like you've had something happen, whether it's a quarter or, an NBA finals game. You've either lost or you've won. It's either like a good quarter where you're beating and you have good things to say, or maybe it's a bad quarter. But it's kind of entertaining either way, right? Yeah. If you look at Anthony Edwards, it's entertaining whether he wins. He comes in and he's wearing like his outfit and he's got his swagger and he's like, we crushed those guys. I had 50 points. Or when he loses, he's shirtless and he's got the towel on his shoulder and he's just like the body language is bad. Maybe he throws some shade at the coaching staff or the teammates. But you want to watch either way. So we asked ourselves, how can we actually make this informative but also entertaining? And we started Q4 of last year was our first earnings call where we did live video. And it was like in our office, it was sort of like one baby step. And then you fast forward to our previous earnings call, it was at the Chase Center. We had live video. We had live Zoom Q&A where retail investors would basically live stream and ask their questions live. And we had sell-side analysts, but also buy-side investors and the media in there. Everyone always told me, okay, sell-side analysts are the only ones going to these calls. And you ask yourself and you ask others, why? Well, there's no good reason why, The reasons are made up. Well, sell-side analysts would get their feelings hurt. They would feel like they didn't have as much time if they're competing for question slots with retail investors and the media. So I think if you break it down from first principles and rebuild the experience, a lot of the constraints that people think exist aren't real constraints, and you end up with a better product. So we went from, I think, hundreds of listeners on the old Polycom-style earnings to tens of thousands, maybe even 100,000 at the last one. So it increased the actual audience of our earnings by multiple orders of magnitude.